Fox from Fox and Kit Woodworks Fox Den videos, bringing you a new format and the follow-up review of the WEN 7 1/4 12 amp track saw. In this review, we're going to go over the good, the bad, the ugly, and the final verdict. So, to start off, the good. Well, first off, this track saw is definitely a budget track saw, and right now it's on sale on Amazon at $135. With that savings, you can actually go and purchase all the other things you're going to need for the track saw, including the tracks, clamps if you wish to use those, and also a miter gauge. You could probably get all this for under $300. Next, ease of use. I've never used a track saw before, and this was my first time ever using a track saw, and pulling it out of the box, it seemed pretty simple to use. I did go over the instructions, which were very thorough, and got a feel for how the track saw was going to operate in the tracks and kind of what I needed to do from there. Also, the track saw felt more sturdy and robust since they had upgraded it to more metal parts. After that, the initial setup was quite easy. I pulled the tracks out and I laid one down and I put the track saw into the grooves, and there's two yellow knobs that you adjust for the tension on the tracks. Once I got those set so that it was tight but easy to move, I then moved on to trimming off the rubber edge line. For this, you could use a scrap piece of wood or even the hard foam insulation, and that's what I had purchased for this, and I laid the track down on it and then attached the other tracks together. And they come with these metal bars that just use an Allen key to tighten up and make sure that they're aligned correctly. And I just went ahead and put the track saw in, set the blade depth to about 1/4 of an inch, ½ inch, and then I just ran it down through the line. Next, I was really impressed by the accuracy of the track saw in a couple different ways. First, being the fact that from the factory, the blade was set at a 0 degree or 90 degree cut, and it was at 89.95, 90 degrees on my digital angle finder. And even after I test cut a few pieces of wood, it was, right on the 90 degree mark. It was square with a square and even my digital angle finder. That being said, when we get to the bad portion, I'll be going over some of the features about adjustment and the track itself. However, the track accuracy, as long as you set it up correctly and have each track jointed together very well and secured, you get a nice straight line that is easy to move the track and line up your measurements on and make good straight cuts. And all this is all great, but what about power? If you can't have the power to cut through the wood, what does it matter if it's straight and square? And this track saw does not disappoint in the power section. With that 12 amp motor, it was able to cut through these 13/16 hickory boards pretty easily. In fact, I had it bogged down about 2 or 3 times, and I don't know if that was more my own fault with letting off the trigger partially, or if it just hit a really hard part of the wood, but it really did go through this hickory quite nicely. Additionally, it did all that with the stock saw blade from WEN. I never had to change it out to the Diablo blade that I had picked up just in case. And now on to the bad. And the 3 areas that were really the bad parts for me were the bevel adjustment, the depth adjustment, and actually the alignment of the 2 different length tracks. So for the bevel adjustment, to actually adjust them, there's 2 knobs, one front and one back, that you have to loosen and then move the blade to your correct angle and then tighten down. The issue that I find with this is that if the front is set to 45 and the back shows where its 45 is, it could not be exactly 45 on either of them. And the only way that I could figure to measure it appropriately or properly would be by making sure the saw was unplugged, turning it over, getting the blade all the way out, and then taking your angle finder up to the blade front and back. You could also do this on test pieces of wood, but then you have to figure out which part of the blade is off. Depth adjustment was a little finicky when I first started it. You have to really make sure you lock it down tight, otherwise it can slip on you and drop the blade down further. I found out that if you just made sure it was tight enough, it was fine, but you just have to kind of get used to it and try it a few times. And lastly would be the fitment between the 55-inch and 50-inch track. For some reason, they are not exactly the same, though the track that the track saw slides on does match for them. The outside edge toward where the cutting is, there's grooves and they just don't line up, and sometimes my track saw would kind of get hung up on it. Not bad, but just enough to have to give it a little extra push. And I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe that was just a bad batch I got, but if you use the 55 with the 55 and the 50 with the 50, there was no fitment issues. And for the ugly, the only thing I can really say was the dust collection. Even using my 6.5 horsepower Craftsman shop vac with the dust separator, I did not get the best dust collection. I even covered the opening on the side of the track saw to remove the blade when you're doing a blade change with a piece of duct tape, and it helped, but it still just spewed out quite a bit of dust out the front of it. Maybe if you had an actual dust extractor or something else, it would work better, but yeah, it was not the best at dust collection. And for the final verdict, do I give it the Fox stamp of approval? Yes, I do. And the reasons why are, for a entry-level track saw, for someone that's not going to be using it all the time or even using it quite moderately, it got the job done at a much better price point. There are plenty of options out there in the cordless features that are going to, make the price go up way more, double or triple what I paid for this one. But for a corded track saw, it worked just fine. I'm going to be doing some more furniture pieces, and I'll be using it for that. But I'm very happy with the fact that this WEN 7.25 12 amp track saw was able to get the job done. So hope you all liked the video. Please like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you on the next one.